This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, proudly in association with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. Tonight we are, or will be, very shortly, 75% British, 25% Irish. But as always, we're 100% Giants, and we're back to break down the regular season schedule for 2025, which was released last night. And currently with me to break it down is Kevin Craig. Shane will be joining us shortly. And we're going to go through what could potentially be our path to either glory or another high draft pick. So, which one would you prefer? Boys, how are we doing?
Yeah, very good. I know everyone goes on about, the schedule's coming out. We all know who we're playing. Why is it? But no, I love the schedule coming out because I want to see, when we play these games, what time we're playing, especially for us guys over here. The timings matter when you have the big games, we're getting a couple of division games at very good times this year for us. So it's really good to try and plan it. And also, I kind of know what shifts I need to book off work and stuff like that. So it's and there's always the meetups. So it's always, we need to find out when we're playing these games. It's always good.
Yeah, I know that Art Stapleton took a lot of fire yesterday for leaking it and all of this, but the players have known it's just fanfare, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I love the leaks. I like having it almost oh, it could be this, or oh, it's not, it's this. And you're right, Kev. Knowing when we're playing teams where, so for example, and as a Saints fan, I am. The Saints are basically NFC East Team 5 at the moment because we've played them for the last God knows how many seasons. But we like to know when that's playing. We're in Florida for the first 2 weeks of the season. Is that going to be a case of, we're going to have to try and find a bar to watch it? Or are we going to be here? Or is it going to conflict with London games or meetups or things like that? So it is interesting to find out when these games are. And we have, we're going to get into it in a bit, but we have 11 games at 6 p.m. this year. Well, one at 5 and the others at 6. But, bring it on. 6 p.m.
Not complaining
games.
about that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, especially for us over here, 6 p.m. games are lovely.
Yeah.
One
late nights.
One 9:25 game and then
three
a Monday night football, a Sunday night football, and a Thursday night football.
Yeah.
Winner.
Yeah, man. Exactly. I mean, it means by 9:30, 11 out of 17 Sundays, we're done and we can go to bed and relax and hopefully off the back of a win. But it is always good to have the schedule released. It's always I've always thought it's kind of a strange thing because we know who we're playing, like you said, but at the same time, it's kind of nice to see how it all pans out. And obviously, with our schedule being supposedly, as they're saying, the toughest schedule in the league this year. Obviously, that's based off of many things, including what we were like last year and everything like that as well. But yeah, it's always good. But before we get into it, though, if you haven't seen it, which we all have, and we've all got our opinions on it, and I'll get Shane's opinion on it when he gets in, but. There is kind of an elephant in the room here, and that is the official release video that the Giants dropped yesterday. When I first watched it, my initial thoughts were, "What the actual fuck is this?" Because I didn't get it. I didn't understand. I don't know. I can hand on heart honestly say I've never ever watched a single episode of that program that it's based on. And obviously, for those that don't know what it's based on, it's based around Love Island, right? And for me, I was just like, why? Why have we pulled? I mean, we were just talking about it off air beforehand. Why have we pulled the short straw and had to produce a video that's based off of Love Island. Either that, or the team have gone, oh yeah, let's do it on Love Island because that's funny. No, it's not. What the fuck, boys? What did you make of it? Like, Kev, what did you think of it?
Right. I thought it was okay. No, no. You know what it was, Rez?
You've watched Love Island, haven't you? You've watched Love Island.
I have put my hands up, lads. I have been made to watch Love Island in the past. By the
No, don't even pull that card, Kev. You can't pull that card.
There's nothing wrong with a wee bit of trash TV every now and again, lads. But
Everything wrong with it.
I mean, it's right up there with Maps Australia. But anyway, I digress.
I'm sorry, what?
Married at First Sight Australia.
Don't go there.
I
Don't go there.
I thought you said maths, as in like mathematics. Australia. I'm thinking like, what's maths got to do with Australia?
The Australian Carol Vorderman.
Yeah. Got off the reels nice and early on this one, lads. Fantastic. But I'll tell you what I'll say about it, right? Some of them are brilliant, right? And some of them are bad. And some of them are just very, very silly and mediocre. But the thing is, like, we look out for the actual games, and that's why we love the leaks coming out the day before. Like, find out, when we're playing, where we drop them in as for each week and stuff like that. But let's face it, like that schedule release wasn't aimed at me. It wasn't aimed at you, Dan. It wasn't aimed at you, Craig. Right? These are kind of fun things aimed at a younger audience and stuff like that for a bit of crack. But we did seem to pick one of the worst ways to do it. Although we did mention this off a little bit, like, I did quite like some of the digs, and some of the digs at the other team. I did think to myself, "Ooh, okay, you went there. Very good, very good." So I did like that part of it, I must admit.
Did you have a favourite dig? Because I think my one was the Commanders, where he said, "Don't tell my mum." Like, that's up there. That's a niche reference as well. I think unless you know about the dynamic of Jaden Daniels and his mum, I don't think you get that at all. I just think that's like a throwaway line.
Yeah. There was some good ones. I mean, what do we think of the? I can't really speak on this. What do we think of the Raiders accent in this one? Let's.
Oh, it wasn't great, was it?
No.
I mean, it wasn't. It was very much the the tea sipping and all of that kind of
the Queen's English,
which nobody speaks really.
No, I mean 0.1% of the population of this country probably speak that, like, have that accent, right?
No, and to be honest,
quite like the aged cowgirl.
Yes, Dolly Parton.
I find that one a little hilarious now.
The funny thing is, though, is you're right, Kev. You look at a lot of the other teams that did it. And we were talking about this earlier, but like the Commanders did a throwback to Roller Coaster Tycoon, which is right up our alley, like right in the ballpark of our age group, basically, of that, and that works really, really well. Obviously, the Chargers did Minecraft; theirs was done very well. They took shots at us with Saquon and Daniel Jones, as they called him, Daniel Jones. Which is fair game, absolutely fair game. The Colts.
Who did Mario Kart?
Oh, I don't think I've seen the Mario Kart one.
Well, I thought someone did a Mario Kart
one.
No, there's every team did. Did you see the Philly one, the Eagles one? No, it was an orchestral, like Philadelphia Harmonic Orchestra playing a piece, and they had like the Super Bowl, and it was just like featuring. And then it said also starring, and then just had a list of all the names, and that was it. That was it. It was
the Falcons that did the Mario Kart one.
Oh, was it? Okay. And I mean, the Seahawks one was quite good with the 80s toys.
Oh no, I did see that. That was very, very good, actually. Yeah.
Who was the one that did the AI one? Was that the Bills? Someone did the AI one, saying we're going to get AI to do the schedule release.
And it was the Bills.
And then
it was the Bills. I haven't seen it, but I saw the AI bit.
Yeah, and the AI, and then obviously the coach goes in to the office, like, to do AI, to get the AI to do the schedule, and Allen Iverson's there, and he just says the schedule.
Love it.
Very clever.
That's
very clever.
That's very good. Yeah, I like that.
But that's the thing. Like, you just need those little. The one thing that the Giants did do well, and I don't know if any of you boys have seen this because we haven't really spoken about it. I don't think anyone posted it in the group chats either. Did you see that they posted on TikTok that they, at the Pro Bowl, they got the players of the teams we're playing against this year to sing their team name?
Okay.
And they've got like George Kittle, Drake May, and a few others who like singing the name of their team, and it's proper funny. So
Who done this one?
the Giants, it was the Giants on TikTok. It's much
Oh,
better,
TikTok. Okay.
so much better than what we actually put out. It was funny, but
Haven't seen
yeah.
that. I don't have TikTok, so I wouldn't have seen it. So feel free to share it.
I will download it and put it into the group chats.
Thanks, mate. But yeah, we'll get Shane's view on it when he joins us. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, it's quite a good idea that they've done, and obviously, some of the ones across the league have been really good, like we said. But I just come on. We want something better next year, not Love Island. Jesus Christ. If you are watching on YouTube, X, Twitch, or Facebook, and you're getting involved in the comments, as plenty of people are, send us your questions, give us your opinions as well. And don't forget as well, leave us a review on your platform of choice. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Before we get into the schedule, last Friday saw the release of Giants Life Episode 2. I mean, we discussed Episode 1 on the show last Thursday, and we said, when will Episode 2 be released? It could be tomorrow, could be next week. It ended up being tomorrow. The day after, and Episode 2 came out, and we're like, okay, fine. Two episodes in 2 days. Does that mean we're going to get the whole series in the next week? But lo and behold, we've had nothing since. But Episode 2 focused on Jackson Dart.
That's the series. It's 2 episodes. It was 2 episodes.
Wow.
No,
I was really hoping for some day 3 action.
No,
I was looking up some stuff earlier when I went to rewatch it, and they said, the Giants Life series, 2 episodes focusing on Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart. So not only are they not long enough, but the series is 2 episodes.
Like what, 23 minutes total?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm very, very. I mean, to be fair, we got probably more than enough last year, but even still, like, it's not the point.
I'm surprised they even did a documentary after last.
Yeah, exactly. Very true. Very true. At least the documentary this year they could put on screen what they wanted to, and it was very much a case of we'll keep it in house. Yeah, it is pathetic, Steve. I agree with you. But yeah, the final episode then of the Giants Life series. Fucking hell.
Season finale.
Isn't it? And they're released in 2 days as well. Come on, at least drag it out and release the next one this week. Jesus Christ. Looking at Jackson Dart, obviously from the recruitment process, looking at sort of behind the scenes of Dabes testing him in the quarterback's room to post draft interviews. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. That'd be decent. It gives us a little bit of a close look behind, who is a guy that is potentially a future franchise quarterback. Any moment stand out for you, Kev?
Yeah, quite a few actually. The first thing that stands out was like Joe Sheehan was thorough with this whole process in the sense that he had talked to every GM about where he would move up to, how he would move up, and stuff like this. I mean, you've seen straight away he had a deal in place with Denver at 20 to get ahead of the Steelers. Like, he kind of knew his price point of where he wanted to move to. And he said they also had, after he realized the Steelers weren't taking a quarterback, he had deals in place with teams, and he went to them, and they said the deal's off because a good player we didn't think would drop is dropping to us. So they didn't want to trade back because they wanted to take those players. So you kind of see all these deals falling through. And then I do wonder because we had a deal in place with the Rams, and you've seen the phone call when he was on the phone to the Rams, and then he told Leslie that he's going to take the Texans offer. But the Rams must be glad that happened, because obviously the pick next, the 26th pick, the Rams ended up trading the 26th pick and 101 to the Falcons for 46, 242, and a first rounder next year. So and for the deal we
They're
got,
laughing.
we're absolutely laughing. We kind of got up to get our QP to give away relatively minimal draft capital, and then 1 pick later, the Falcons had to give up all that to move up. So kind of like, we're happy. The Rams are definitely happy. I suppose the Falcons are happy they kind of got their guy. And I love the the Darts video calling. When they called the draft room and everyone's there talking to them. And he said again, like, this. I told you this is where I wanted to be. So we're getting the 2 first-round picks that actually want to be here, and people might say that, but I kind of believe it when he does say that because it's a great situation for him. And I did love at the end as well when he gave the little, I love you guys at the end to the draft room, and everyone was laughing and stuff. Like, it shows that he is a bit of a goofball as well, although he tries to give it the old, like, really, like, cool fella, like, do you know what I mean? And one thing that stood out to me massively was Dayball loves him. Like, I've never seen Dayball this giddy, proper giddy.
It's almost like a man crush, isn't it?
Oh, mate, it's brilliant to see because even when he smiled around Daniel Jones, it wasn't, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, they get on. Okay, that's nice. This is different. Seeing these two interact together is just different. And I loved how they grilled him as well. Like, we always knew that the Giants really grill the players when they come in, the quarterback stuff like that, and just seeing him answering everything. Obviously, they show us what they want to show us, but just seeing him have answers for everything and how impressed Dable is when he answers the questions. I mean, I'm absolutely here for it. But it kind of shows the importance of the draft stuff, like, going to the Senior Bowl, doing your interviews and doing them well, the combine and stuff like that. Again, Joe Sheehan said it, and Dable said it. He killed the process. He absolutely killed it. He went in, did everything he was meant to do, and put good enough film on tape, and then show what type of person he is. He can retain information. He's going to be able to get their system. So it was kind of like all these things just amalgamated in why this just is such a good pick. I mean, and one of the things that came out afterwards as well, like in the rookie minicamp on the way home, like he got the offense together at the hotel off his own back to get people together and go through the script for the next day to make sure everyone was on point and everyone's ready to go. Like, and not many players do that. For him to go off his own back and do that, I think was fantastic. And you've seen the type of player he was when he had his first press conference as well. He asked all the beat writers to say their name, who they work for and stuff like that before asking their questions and ask the questions. So just seeing like the way he's brings himself to the organization, but then seeing in the Hard Knocks, Dable around him is huge for me. I just think, Dable really, really believes in this guy. And seeing Joe Sheehan obviously say to him, like, this came across worse than what it looked, in my opinion, when he said, like, oh, you really liked him or something like that. And then everyone was saying, oh, was he not Sheehan's guy? But I'm telling you what, I don't care. Organizationally, I think we got the best guy for us. And again, I go back to it. Seeing Dable as a giddy little kid, like, just so excited, mate, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure how I can follow that because Kev's just given us a minute by minute breakdown of the episode, the 10 minutes there. But I think Kev might be in love with Jackson Dart maybe as much as Brian is. No, Kev hits the nail on the head. I think the biggest thing that you can take away from it is this a knock at the previous QB? Maybe take it the way you want to take it, but it's nice to have someone with a bit of personality who actually looks like he's rough and ready to go, and someone who will actually push back against the New York media rather than just kind of being a bit stoic about it and just kind of taking it, which obviously we had with Eli, but Eli backed it up on the field. We had it with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, obviously, we all know what happens there. I don't want to talk about him and how everyone's going crazy for his perfect spirals in Colts uniform, despite the fact he has no pass rush against him. But there we go. Yeah. But yeah, it's the same old story. I feel like we just, you could just rewind the tape, press play, and we'll say the exact same things, which are the episodes are fantastic. It's too bloody short. Please, can you give us more? Like, I just need more. But the one thing that I will say that I don't think Kev touched on is the bit right at the end where it was it's always nice to see the family dynamic. We saw it with Carter. Obviously, I wasn't on last week's show when you spoke about episode 1, but we saw it with Carter where you had his agent and his family, in the sort of limousine, and then obviously talking. And you saw it with Jackson Dart where they actually gave every member of his family the opportunity to say something as well, which I quite like from the Giants. And the Giants have always been a very family first kind of organization. So yeah, it's good. It is a good episode. It's just too short, and I think that kind of maybe detracts a little bit from what we really want from it. Spoiled with Hard Knocks, evidently.
Yeah, clearly, and I think maybe the fact that we had Hard Knocks last year is why we've only going to have 2 episodes this year.
Yeah,
being burnt.
Don't want to show the hand too much.
Yeah, exactly. Even Shane Hayden, mate.
Yeah, I'm all good. Apologies for my poor timekeeping.
No dramas, friends. No dramas. It's all good. We're just obviously covering Giants Life, which episode 2, which ended up being the final episode, apparently. What did you make of it?
I ain't watched it. Not gonna lie. I've been too busy with work, and that today's my first day off. So I've literally got a lot of catching up to do.
You've got the final episode to look forward to then, in that case. Because
I mean, to be fair, I feel like you should put a spoiler on that for me.
no, you've got the final episode to look forward to. Enjoy it.
Actually, tell them I watched it. I'm a bullshit. Craig, is that what I messaged you about last week?
Yeah, you have. Yeah, you have watched it because we had a conversation about Dart's family afterwards.
I've literally just done 7 days in a row of getting up at 4 a.m. every morning for work. So, yeah, I'm completely not with it a little bit. Yeah, I have watched it. I am chatting bullshit. You can call me.
Nice.
Apologies.
That's fine. Do you remember any of it?
Yeah. I don't know it was the last episode though. Did I say that, or did I miss that?
Yeah,
I found it out earlier.
Craig dropped that bombshell about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. I was expecting a new one. Yeah, I thought it was all right. It probably weren't as in depth as I kind of hoped it would be. I'd have liked to, maybe seen a little bit more in terms of like combine interviews, obviously, which we got access to last year, comparing the quarterbacks that way. But he seems like a good kid. Seems like he's got a little bit something about him. And was it just me that loved it when it came up on the screen? Diesel Dart. I was like, "Rah, that's like that's like a wrestler's name or something, man." Diesel Dart.
That's exactly what Aaron said.
Yeah. Well, that come on the screen, and that's probably my biggest takeaway. I was like, "I like that Diesel, man. That's cool."
Yeah.
Now, didn't I message you saying that he's got college eligibility in 2027?
Yeah, that's it. Plays cornerback, wide receiver, is he?
Yeah.
Interesting. But I think for me, yeah, like you guys said, he kind of has that little something about him, and I think he's just got a bit of attitude about him, and just sort of that bit of personality which we didn't have with the last guy. And
I do want to say, sorry, I don't know if you guys have said it, but I thought it was cool on his first presser when he was like, "Can you introduce yourself so I know who you all am?" I was like, that is like a massive level of maturity in my opinion. Because I'll be honest, if I've just been drafted first round of the NFL draft, and on what? How old is he? 20, 21, 22?
Just turned 22 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'd probably be thinking, I want to know who they are, but I probably wouldn't do it on camera in front of everybody. So
before anyone's even asked him a question,
he
stepped
exactly
on stage and was like, "Introduce yourself."
Yeah, that I thought, that was probably a big standout for me in his interview. I thought, what, fair play to you, kid.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's a shame that the series is only 2 episodes, but and it wasn't as it definitely wasn't as in depth as I was hoping it would be. Just over 10 minutes. I think it was a little bit on the short side. I would have liked to have seen more from the combine, even as well, like more of his sort of workout stuff at the combine. But lo and behold, we got what we got, and we got to take it. So, needless to say, I still enjoyed it, but as usual, we want more, and it's never enough, right?
Did you see the game of darts they done with him though? The social media team.
I've heard about it.
I saw a little bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just
his walkout theme. He said his walkout theme, and I was like, I'm too old to even know what you're talking about there, and that was it.
Not a Scooby, but he's doing like just answering questions, stuff like that, and like you said, Dan, he has that bit of. He's got the confidence, but not over cocky. And he's got a humble side to him as well, a bit of humility. And you'd like to see that as well, like and he said the players he likes to model his game after. I think he mentioned Favre, Brady, and Josh Allen. I mean that's not a bad 3 to aspire to be like, is it?
Let's just hope the Favre thing is the on the field stuff and not the off the field stuff, maybe.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that video of him playing darts with him, and you kind of made me think. I know going to cut off a complete tangent here. You just made me think of a question like, what would your darts walkout song be?
Oh God.
Shipping it up to Boston.
Yes, that's good. Nice. That's
nice.
Good. Change will be a podcast.
Excuse me, mine will be the liquidator. So all the fans can chant along, "Fuck off, Wanderers, West Brom." Steve's listening tonight or watching. Steve will know exactly what I'm on about.
I'm waiting for the comment to come in.
Yep, it's going to come in any second. Craig, what would yours be, mate?
For whom the bells toll. Talica.
Oh,
It has to be. Has to be.
I think. Oh yeah, that's such a good one.
I knew that would be the sort of one that Dan would pick.
Bastard. You bastard. What would mine be? I'd probably go something like Master of Puppets. One was Hallecker as well. But yeah, there you go. But just a little tangent. There you go. That'd be interesting. Cool. Let's move on to the main event then. The schedule release. Looking at.
Hold on.
Go on.
We've got to ask Shane. We've got to ask Shane about the schedule release.
Oh, good. Oh my
video.
goodness. I'm so sorry. Have
you seen the schedule release video?
No.
Oh, God, you are
okay.
Do you watch Love Island?
No. What the fuck's Love Island got to do with it?
Correct answer, my friend. You'll be surprised.
While Dan's doing his opening bit for the pre-season and stuff, why don't you just have a cheeky watch of the schedule
It's
reveal?
going to piss me off.
Just give it a really quick watch, Shane. Just give it a really quick watch. Moving on while Shane watches that, and we'll get his reaction to it in a second. Last night, our 2025 regular season schedule was officially announced. Obviously, there had been plenty of leaks on social media across the day, so we kind of knew come official release time actually what our full schedule was. We already knew our opponents, obviously, but now it's not all locked in, and we know who will be playing and when. Obviously, while Shane's watching that video, and I'm expecting to see some shock, like some looks of shock and horror on his face. First, if we look at pre-season quickly, 2 of the games are kind of normal pre-season games that we'd expect. Week 2 at home against the Jets, and then week 3 at home against the Patriots. Usual pre-season games there for us. Week 1 sees us going to Buffalo. Unsurprising with the whole sort of Shane Dave's links to upstate New York. It'll probably be our last visit to Orchard Park, actually, before they move to their new stadium at the beginning of 2026. So yeah, it'll be probably our last visit there, unless... Yeah, it will be our last visit there, because obviously we don't play in the season. But
21
Shane?
seconds.
What was that?
I've got 21 seconds in and I've turned it off.
That says all you need to say.
Like,
Thoughts?
bullshit.
There you go. Yes.
Honest to God, what are the Giants? I'm not being funny. You got an Irishman, you got a lad from the Black Country, you got a couple of guys from down south. Like, we could have had our own fun, do you know what I mean?
Oh God.
We could have done a better job with our accents, man. Fucking hell.
Oh, I think you broke it down.
That's up.
Wow. Wow.
But,
You know what? It was my exact reactions. I would literally sat there and watched it last. I was like, "The fucking hell am I watching here?" I obviously I didn't get the whole Love Island reference at all at first. I just thought like, "Who the fucking hell are these people? And why are they like? What was it all like?" And then obviously you then find out through the grapevine that it's.
Which one of the lads watches Love?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question.
So I'm happy to rule Dan out instantly.
Yes.
Hand
on heart, never watched a single minute of an episode.
And then which one of you two is most likely to watch it? I'm gonna get Kev with the little comb over hair and the beard. Like his missus, like, yeah, we're watching Love Island tonight. I've got a podcast. No, you ain't got a podcast. Put yourself unavailable for that podcast.
guilty as charged.
Ding 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 ding.
You're right.
Yeah, I've never watched it.
I'm sick of this.
No.
Yeah, me and you got a chat.
But he did pull the my missus has made me watch it card.
Oh yeah, but they all pull that card.
Along with what was it? Maths. Married at First Sight.
I thought you were about fucking school maths then. I was like, what?
Shane, yes. Same wavelength.
No, lads, that's maths. TH, there's a TH, lads, not F's. Maths.
It's maths.
You're talking to someone from the black country, it's maths.
Mate, it's maths for me too, trust me.
Exactly.
But
Does she make you watch it in the man cave, Kev? Is she like, oh, let's settle in the man cave, let's get it on TV?
Yes, I make her watch it in the man cave.
Oh dear. We're half an hour in and we've not even got to the schedule yet. and my face hurts. Oh, my face hurts.
Just get back to pre-season though.
Go on.
Get back to pre-season. I mean, like, how cool would it have been? Not only Eli Manning going into the Hall of Fame, but Eli Manning going to the Hall of Fame and having the Giants as one of the teams for the Hall of Fame game. Like, Canton would have been swamped with everyone wanting to see Eli and all that, the teams he played for, the 07, 11 teams. And also, you got be able to see Jackson Dart, like, the QB of the future. Like, that would have been a really cool, like, way to start the preseason.
It would have been, you're right, yeah. But we'll just get that next year instead. It's fine.
Voters suck.
It's fine. Yeah, they do. Yeah, we'll get it next year. It's all good. He's going to get in, no doubt. But yeah, obviously preseason week 1, Buffalo, week 2, Jets, week 3, Patriots. I'm going to assume we'll probably have a joint practice with Buffalo in that case, as we usually do with the first team we play in preseason at some point. So again, that wouldn't surprise me with the whole Shane and Dave's links to Buffalo. So
not far to travel either.
No, exactly that. I think it's a few hours on a coach or something, no doubt. Cool. All right, then week 1. So let's get cracking. 7th of September, Sunday. Our first of 11, 6 p.m. kickoffs, obviously 1 p.m. Eastern time. We begin the season with a divisional game on the road against a resurgent Commanders, obviously, who made it all the way to the NFC title game last year under rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. And no doubt they'll be looking to continue his impressive start to his NFL career right off the bat with a home game in week 1. Week 2, again, second straight road game against a division rival. This time going to the house that Eli christened, coming off a 7-10 season, falling way short of their constantly high expectations. Oh, that's the Dallas Cowboys, not the Giants. There's zero expectations for the Giants at the moment. And obviously, with new head coach Brian Schottenheimer as well, no doubt he'll be looking to get off to a hot start. And incidentally, thanks to friend of the pod John Schmelk for this, posted this on X earlier. Since the AFL-NFL merger, the Giants have started the season with 2 consecutive divisional road games twice. First in 1975 against the Eagles and then against Washington, and then the year after in 1976 against Washington and then the Eagles. So this will be the first time in 50 years that we begin the season with 2 road games against divisional opponents. So little piece for you there, but it's not an easy start to the season. I think the Cowboys game might potentially be easier than the Commanders game, but yeah, they're both tough games. Let's look at it that way. And then week 3. Sunday Night Football, our first primetime game of the year, our first home game of the year under primetime lights, up against the team that everyone seems to talk about, and they are kind of the new Patriots, really, aren't they? And no thanks to the Swifties and the whole sort of Taylor Swift craze and everything that's going around at the moment. Kansas City Chiefs come to MetLife. Lost in the Super Bowl to the Eagles. They're obviously outclassed in that game in February, but no doubt they're going to be contenders to win it all come the end of the season in February again. So again, a pretty strong start, pretty difficult, pretty tough start against 2 teams who were very good last year in the Cowboys, who new head coach, who. It could be a really, really difficult start, but Shane, what do you make of the first 3 weeks just off the bat like that?
I mean, obviously we're going to go into the schedule in full detail because obviously we know when we play who, but look, we all knew who we were playing, so that we knew that it's going to be a tough schedule, irrespective. Week 2 is going to be a big one because that's the one that you're probably going to favour to win the most. And if you go into the season 0-2, then you've already got people saying, okay, well, we've got the Chiefs the week after, and then we'll go into the teams that we're going to be coming up to after the week after that. But I do think that week 2 game against Dallas is going to be really important to win and try and get morale high and keep confidence high. Because, like I say, we're going up against tough teams. I mean, is it something like our first 6 games, 4 were divisional games? Like four teams were divisional teams last year, and 2 of them were in the Super Bowl as well. So, I do think that Dallas game is going to be really important to try and keep morale in the locker room high and keep the faith in Dave's as well. Let's not forget, Mara said it himself at the end of last year, I'm sick of losing now. And granted, he's not going to get sacked after 2 weeks. And even if he has a shit season, I don't expect him to be sacked any point during the season. It'll be at the end of the season, in my opinion. But, he's going to need to kind of have his back up a little bit and prove why Mara kept the faith in him.
Yeah, big time. And yeah, I think that Dallas game out of the 3 is probably the most winnable. The Chiefs game is going to be tough. The Commanders game is going to be tough. So we need to get a win somewhere there in the first 3 weeks. Moving on then, week 4, Giants home against the LA Chargers. Again, 6 p.m, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Our second home game in as many weeks. Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers make that long trip from coast to coast. Kev, you've highlighted this as one of your games to watch. Why have you highlighted it?
Just before I answer that, just quickly going back to the first 3 games, like the Commanders and Cowboys last season, for as bad as we were, we lost those 4 games by 1 score. 1 score, like we were in those 4 games, and I think we're a remarkably better team this season. So don't be surprised if we go away and upset some people nice and early in the season and get 2 wins there. But yeah, I went for the Chargers. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the Chargers. I think that powder blue uniform has always been quite cool, and Phillip Rivers was a kind of gunslinger QB that you just love to watch. But the Chargers and Giants, they have a short history. The first matchup was in 1971, the most recent in 2021. The Chargers won that 37-21. But it's kind of weird. You kind of because you don't play every team every year. We've only played the Chargers 13 times, which is kind of crazy to think. And LA lead the series of 8-5. So yeah, I always think that's funny when you see the matchups with teams, and it's hold on, they've only played 13 times. But the Chargers, they finished last season with an 11-6 record, which is 11th in the NFL for points scored. They improved their defense, and they were ranked 11th overall. That was a jump from 28th overall the year before. So it shows that people, teams can make jumps. They went from 20th to 11th last year. Again, come back to us. Why can't we make that type of jump? The offense scored 402 points. Placed them 11th in the league. The defense allowed 301 points, the first most in the league. They also ranked 19th in the passing yards per game, 213.5, and 17th in the rushing. Then they kind of looking at how they sort of built up the squad in this offseason. The notable free agents I marked down was running back, Steelers ex-running back Najee Harris, good solid all-round back. The Jets and former Charger wide receiver Mike Williams, they bring him back to bolster their wide receiver options. Mekhi Becton, who many people considered a bust. He was a massive tackle taken in the first round by the Eagles. He gets moved to right guard, goes to the Jets, and I think he had not a fantastic season, but I think he was definitely above average guard in the NFL. They brought him in to bolster the offensive line. They also signed the ex-Raiders center Andre James and brought back Bradley Bozeman. And also, I was reading up on them, Zion Johnson, who me and Shim are quite high on as a guard, hasn't quite worked out for him. They've moved him to center now as well to compete at that, to try and sort of salvage a bit of his career. And on defense, they brought in a pair of cornerbacks, Steelers, Dante Jackson, and the Commanders, Benjamin St. Juste. And also they added some very good players, in my opinion, to the draft. Round 1, running back Marion Hampton, which some people were shocked about, when they took, obviously they said they signed Najee Harris, but obviously Marion Hampton's another well-rounded, very good running back. It's a good 1-2 tandem there. A wide receiver I was higher on than most in the second round, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. They want to get that big-bodied wide receiver, to go along with Mike Williams. And they went defensive tackle Jamari Caldwell, Oregon. Round 4, edge Carl Kennard out of South Carolina. So they made some interesting additions through the draft and free agency. But the matchup for me, when I was looking through their depth chart, pull up our lads depth chart, this fantastic our lads website, for depth charts. They're really up to date. They're very, very good. Highly recommend having a look on there. Is our O line versus their D line, because although Mac has been a special player in the past, I don't think he's what he was. And they brought him back on a 1-year deal. And also in the middle, the defensive tackle Hand and Tart, in my opinion, don't set the world alight as an interior defensive lineman. And then they've got obviously the rookies, Kennard and Caldwell, who need development. So I think if our O-line can sort of get some cohesiveness and get a real push on this, I think, we set up the run game. I think our O-line could handle, this D-line of the Chargers. And I can see us, being able to give Russell Wilson time to get the ball out to the weapons that we have. So I'm really interested to see how that match. It's actually, for me, it's a more favorable matchup between the two teams. So I don't know. It's the optimist in me, but I think the Chargers could be there for the taking. But hey, we'll see when it comes to it.
I was literally just about to ask you, Kev, are we going to win that game?
Wait, I looked at the Chargers. I don't see why not. Don't forget, we are not last year's team. Like, I know we were bad last year, but we've made additions, and I think we are a very different team if you look at our defense. And QB's huge. I know we haven't added a lot in wide receiver. We might see one come in this week. O-line, I think, can be solid. The running back looks class. The 2 running backs now look class. The quarterback's huge. And I think we've had a massive upgrade at quarterback. So I think we could win that game.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Russell Wilson, the centre, doing his thing. Come on. Like it. All right, week 5 then. Giants at Saints. Again, 6 p.m, October 5th. Trip to the Big Easy. We take on Spencer Rattler or maybe even Tyler Shock. Who's going to go quarterback? Obviously, Derek Carr announced his retirement earlier this week because of the injury that he suffered against the Giants when he went flying through the air last year. It'll be our first experience up against new head coach Kellen Moore as well, who obviously led the Eagles helped to lead the Eagles to Super Bowl success last year. Week 6, our second primetime game. 2 in the first 6 weeks, not a bad start. This time Thursday night football up against the old division rival Philadelphia Eagles. No, Thursday 9th of October, 1:15 a.m. here in the UK. It's going to be a late night. Talking of the Eagles, a short week. Judas returns once again. Philly comes to town for our second primetime game of the season. A game that last year where we scored a measly 3 points. So you got to hope and pray and just ask the gods, please, let us score more points this season against them. And we're obviously looking to break our 2-game losing streak against them, and hopefully we can do that in week 6. Week 7, our first trip west of the year, we take on the Denver Broncos, 19th of October. So we've got a nice sort of 10-day break, almost like a mini bye after the Eagles game there. 9:05 p.m, 4:05 Eastern. We're going to the Mile High City to take on impressive rookie Bo Nix. Obviously, he was in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. And the Broncos, who are fresh off their first playoff game since 2015. So it had been a while since they've been in the playoffs. And they had a good year last year. So that's going to be another tough game. And it's always difficult to go to Mile High. Obviously, because of the altitude that they play at. And then week 8, it's the return game against the Eagles. 26th of October at 5 p.m. the UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, the clocks go back in the UK that Sunday, but they stay at the same time in America until the following week. And we go to the link for our week 8 game, the second game against the Eagles in 2.5 weeks. So it's kind of nice to get them out of the way early doors, so then we don't have to worry about them playing them later on in the season when they're no doubt on a run to the playoffs and looking strong. Craig, weeks 5 to 8, some tough games in there. 2 against the Eagles, obviously. Any standouts for you there?
Yeah, I like the look of that Broncos game. I think Bo Nix was one that we kind of all highlighted as a player that was either going to, thrive or maybe struggle a little bit. He lands in the perfect spot under Sean Payton there. Really, really set the sort of league alight. I think if you didn't have Jaden Daniels having the kind of season that Jaden Daniels did, Bo Nix would have been a lock really for Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. So that's obviously a worry. And then they do have other good players as well. Cortland Sutton. They've got Pat Surtain. They added Jardy Barron in the draft. The Broncos look like the standout there. I'm loath to say anything nice about the Eagles and the Saints. I plead the fifth, not touching that.
Fair. That's fair. I suppose that's probably the only game you could comment on then, really, isn't it? The Broncos. So
yeah,
it's a good one to pick. Go. Nice. Right then, week 9 sees us taking on the San Francisco 49ers at home, 2nd of November. Again, 6 p.m. You're not going to get fed up of hearing that. Obviously, the clocks go back in the US that week, so it goes back to the traditional 6 p.m. slot. The Niners obviously come to town to begin November. No doubt they'll have Christian McCaffrey back to potentially revive their fortunes after they underwhelmed last year, obviously because of his injury. He was a big loss for them. But Craig, you've highlighted this one as one of your ones to watch.
Yeah, I really like the look of this matchup. I just feel like there's the history there of the Giants. Obviously, it invokes the memory of 2012's NFC Championship game with Scotland's own Lawrence Tynes kicking the winner in overtime. But we're looking at a team who since then have kind of edged the series, winning the last 2, but they've had a really interesting offseason. I do think that they're maybe not the powerhouse that everyone thought that they once were. You've got Robert Saleh, who obviously was the Jets head coach last year before he was fired. He's back in his sort of pre-New York role as defensive coordinator with the 49ers, which is obviously where he came from. He takes over a unit that's lost a load of defensive players, Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, Leonard Floyd, they've all gone. Deebo Samuel's gone to the Commanders in a trade. So obviously that's another big personality gone from that team. And it does look like they're almost in a transition. You spoke about, obviously, Christian McCaffrey. I saw a rumor today that he might be being shopped to the Bears. A bit of an odd one. Don't know how true that is. I don't know if that's a pipe dream that some Bears fans come up with, but I did see that mentioned. Purdy is due to get paid. George Kittle has been paid. He got a big extension in the offseason. So free agency for them was pretty conservative because obviously they don't really have that cap space there. And the way that I looked at it, and just want to echo what Kev says about the R-Lads website, absolutely phenomenal for depth charts. It's where I look at a lot of my off-season moves and kind of where people are going to fit on teams. And when you kind of look at the free agents that they picked up, none of them are starters. I think there was one player that potentially was a starter, which is ex-Seahawks cornerback Trey Brown. You look at everything else, they signed Jason Pinnock, who obviously we're all well aware of and where he came from. They signed DeMarcus Robinson, who was the wide receiver from the Rams. So I think what they've done is really made insurance moves and kind of bolstered thinner positions that they struggled with injuries at last year. And I think that that's kind of where they've had to look. Then what they've really done is built in the draft. When I was looking up their draft picks, they made 11 selections. I don't know if I missed that during the 3 days that the draft was on, but 11 is a lot. And then you look at how they used them. They made 6 defensive choices and 5 offensive choices, but went defense on the first 5 draft picks that they had. They went Mikael Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West, pretty much all within the first 3 or 4 picks that they had in the draft in the first 2 days. they were needed, obviously, to replace the players that I said earlier, and they need to support Nick Bosa because Bosa's great, but he's aging and he can't do it all by himself. You know, he was able to do things because of Leonard Floyd and Javon Hargrave. They're gone. So they really need Mikael Williams, who a lot of people said was a bit of a reach where they picked him at 11, I think the Niners were. So, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to like with this 49ers team, but there's also a lot of unknowns with them, and I think that's going to be their biggest concern. Like Kev did, I went through and had a look kind of matchup by matchup, and I just went, God Almighty, Trent Williams, like he's still there. He is the highest paid left tackle in the league. He still is by sort of average money per year, but he's also 37. So by the time we roll around. Yeah, by the time we roll around to week 9, because he's 37 before the season starts, he's going to be, 37 and a half? Because the half makes a big difference. We know that.
It does when you get to that age.
Yeah. So he has the task of protecting Purdy's blindside from Carter, Thibodeau, and Burns, which I think that could be the kind of thing where you just think to yourself, maybe I'm done. Like maybe this is me.
Yeah, time to feast, boys.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great. But 37, that's impressive though that he's still going.
I knew he was getting on, but 30 to keep going at 37. I mean, I popped my shoulder out of joint picking up a pen, like you know.
I wake up every morning and just ache. No, 37 isn't old, Mayo. We know it's not old. However, once you get to 37,
Shane's the only one below that. I mean, I'm 37 in just over 2 weeks. Shane's below it. Shane's sprightly versus the rest of us.
But yeah, also, just to touch on that as well, if you see the rest of that O-line, there's no household names on there. Like you're going to Trent Williams, but what? Ben Barge, Jake Brendel, Dominic Pooney, Colton McKivitz. I mean, they're good players, they're not bad players, but I fancy our D-line against that.
Yeah, you'd be wrong not to, I think. All right then, week 10 sees us at home again against the Chicago Bears at 6 p.m. again. They come to MetLife with obviously last year's number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, looking for a better year than his rookie season. They lost 10 of their last 11 games last year after starting the year 4-2, and ex-Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will be looking to turn around their fortunes in his first year as head coach. Week 11 sees another NFC North team, so back-to-back NFC North games, back-to-back games against NFC North teams. 16th November, 1 p.m. again, beautiful. The Cheeseheads visit New Jersey. We all know what they can do with that cheese, right, boys?
Indeed.
Exactly that. Currently have a 2-game win streak against the Packers as well, with Tommy DeVito leading the game-winning drive in the 24-22 win back in 2023. Week 12. Are we going to move on to week 12? No, let's go week 11. So Packers and Bears. Kev, 2 winnable games?
I think so, and I think the Bears are a better team. I think they've really tried to help Caleb Williams. Like they've got some really nice pieces there. I think the Packers can be had as well. I mean, they're not the force they were. The thing going through it, right? It's a very difficult schedule, but like these 2 games and some of the games we've mentioned before, and we will mention. I don't think we are big underdogs for them. We may not be favorites, but we're definitely not massive underdogs, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I think they're definitely 2 winnable games. Looking at both from last season, they finished 3rd and 4th in the NFC North, so definitely there for the taking. Week 12, Giants at Lions, 6 p.m. again, 23rd November, back-to-back games against NFC North teams. We go to the Motor City. Shane, this is one of your ones to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these ones where, where do you start? Personally, pre-season last year, Giants and the Lions got into it that led to them both getting fined £200,000, and that involved Malik Neighbours was one of the players affected in that, and also Kirby Joseph, who is still on the Lions. So, this one could have a little bit of a bite towards it, kick off a little bit. Second reason why I've picked it is that we're facing a team that produced a league high 33.2 points a game. So, what's everyone said during the off season about the Giants? What is this What are the Giants basing their game on next year? Their defense. We spent money in free agency on the defense. We drafted number 3 overall defensive player. We're going to find out how good this defense can potentially be, and by week 12, you fully expect Shane Bowen and Brian Dable to have a good hand on what they plan on doing with the defense, what schemes they plan on pulling up. Yeah, okay, like Dan said about the previous the games that Ben Johnson is no longer part of the Detroit Lions. I believe they got John Morton as their OC now, but it's still going to be a tough test, and we're still going to find out what this defense can do. I mean, you look at on offense, they've got a solid offensive line with Panay Saul, obviously always leading the way. You've got Jameson Williams, who's always a threat, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jeremiah Gibbs as well. Jared Goff has kind of revitalised himself in Detroit. And then you got probably one of Kev's favourite players in Sam Laporta, mid-round tight end. Kev loves his tight ends. And then the other reason why I picked it is because, to me, I think we should kind of not aspire, but we should be aiming for what the Lions are at the minute. The Lions were mediocre and shit for many a year. We last beat them in 2016, I think it was. Yeah, we won one of the last 5 games, with the last one being in 2016. But if you look at what the Lions are as a football team and where they've come from in terms of being boring and no one really cared about them, that's kind of what New York Giants are right now, unfortunately. And I know people might not want to hear that, but that's what they are. We've had one season where we got into the playoffs recently, and the more it goes on, the more you think, okay, was that just a fluke? Was that just pure chance more than anything else? So for me, I think we should be kind of aiming to not be the Lions. We should aim to match them and then beat them. Go one step further than what they've been going, and get ahead of them. But that's 100% where we should kind of be aiming to get within 3 or 4 years, which is how long Dan Campbell's been there.
Yeah, it's a good, the way they've improved sort of year to year has been really sort of impressive, and it would be nice to sort of aspire to be like the Lions in sort of 2-3 years time and be that sort of that successful team. They were there or thereabouts last year. Fell just short in the playoffs, and no doubt they'll be there or thereabouts again this year as well. So, yeah, it's definitely a game to watch, that's for sure, and I'm looking forward to it. Week 13 then. Giants at Patriots, Monday Night Football, our last scheduled primetime game of the season, as we go to Foxborough to take on Drake May and the New England Patriots. Kev, you've highlighted this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Patriots aren't the powerhouses they were, but they're sort of developing something quite nice there. I mean, again, looking at the all-time record, the teams have only played 14 times with the tied at 7-7 apiece. Obviously, we know 2 of the memorable wins out of those 7. We don't need to go into them, but last season the Patriots had a 4-13 record. They finished 4th in the AFC East, and they had the 4th pick of the draft. They, by all accounts, didn't have a good season last year as ourselves. They scored 289 points, allowed 417. They were graded 30th overall by PFF, 30th ranking on offense, and 20th on special teams. Some of the noticeable free agents they brought in, obviously Stephon Diggs. They wanted to give their young quarterback Drake May. He's shown last year that he could be the QB of the future. He wasn't perfect by any means, but he definitely showed that he was worthy picking where he was picked. To give him a weapon like this, is great. They also added Jets offensive tackle Morgan Moses, Vikings center Garrett Bradbury. We'll get on to it in a second, but they drafted Will Campbell as well to go along with Mike Owenu. So they're really trying to get that offensive line secure for their young quarterback, try and help him out as much as possible. On defense, they brought in ex-Titans Harold Landry, Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams, who was sort of like the darling of free agency. Everyone wanted to sort of land him. He got paid the most money, I think, for his position. And the Lions cornerback Carlton Davis. And through the draft, they had some nice pieces there. Obviously, like I just mentioned, Will Campbell to be sort of like the tackle to protect Drake May. Some people see him as a guard. I still see him as a tackle. And round 2, they went with Ohio State's Travion Henderson, who kind of is a fantastic back. I know Shane was very high on him. They have Ramonde Stevenson there, but he's more of a power back and more of the bruiser. And Henderson's that sort of elite speed, breakaway speed type running back there. Round 3, they picked up a real nice Washington State wide receiver in Carl Williams. He's sort of like he's only 6 foot. He's only 6 foot, but he kind of his right running is so good. Another weapon to be able to help Drake May. And in the 3rd round, they picked up a player I really liked, which was the center Jared Wilson out of Georgia. And although they did sign Garrett Bradbury, it was only a 1-year deal. Jared Wilson, I think could easily have started the season, but he gets time to sit behind a good player and then maybe start the season after. So looking at the team, looking at what they've got, the matchup for me, I kind of went with a little bit of a strength on strength, in my opinion. I went kind of like our pass catchers versus their secondary. I think that with Davis, who, like I said, they brought in from the Lions, and Gonzalez, who has been outstanding, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and then their safety pair is Carl Duggar and Jabril Peppers, who are getting on the older side, but they're still like very, very solid players. And their starting nickelback is Marcus Jones. He's good against the run, but he's not that good in the pass. I think PFF graded him at late 80s, like 88 or something. And in the run game, but in the pass game, he was only 67. So, I'm really interested to see if we've got our offense rolling by then. Russell Wilson's cooking, Neighbors is catching everything, maybe in the slot sometimes going up against Marcus Jones. Got big receivers on the outside. The offense, is just actually, like I said, just kicking. I think, it'd be a really, really good sort of like strength on strength matchup to see who comes out better then. And obviously, after that game, that leads us into the bye week, which comes perfectly because it's so late. We get time to rest our players before we go on a playoff run. So it works out perfectly.
Yeah, and let's not forget it's the whole New York-Boston rivalry as well. Isn't that right, Kev? New York-Boston. How's that going?
What are you talking about? I'm surprised Shane's wearing that jersey today.
Why? Only got to win one game. Enough said.
Knicks in 6.
It rhymes. It's like it's meant to be, right?
Yeah.
Is that better than Celtics in 7, is it?
That doesn't rhyme.
It's catchy. I will say, I just not spoke about it, and I know we're not an NBA podcast, but like I do hope Jason Tatum comes back strong. You never want to see an athlete get the injury that he got, and I do think New York deserves a little bit of a credit there, fans, the way they did applaud him. There's a bit of a rivalry there, but they've kind of been like, despite all that, they'll show that kind of respect.
Yeah, exactly. It's a horrible injury for him, and let's hope he comes back stronger. And you know what? Anyway, it's been a great series so far, and there's 2 more games to come, and we're looking forward to them. And producer Craig has disappeared.
I thought he was like just staring at the screen, a bit weird. Yeah. I think he might have frozen, disappeared.
Quite possibly. I'm sure he'll be back. Week 14 then sees the bye week. Including this upcoming season, over the last 3 years, we've had our bye weeks in weeks 13, week 11, and week 14. Now, obviously, this year, respectively. Not since 2022, we had a bye week before week 10. Now, injuries could be a key downfall. Have been a key downfall of recent seasons, but we've got to hope that we can keep as many players healthy or as relatively healthy as we possibly can. Because obviously, if we're in contention, like you said, Kev, it could be a really, really great place to have a bye week. Sort of, beginning, second week in December to have a bye week. Then is great if your team's healthy and you can you're making a playoff push. And just heard from Craig, his internet has gone. So yeah, it might be a case of we make do without him for the rest of this evening. Hopefully he gets back. We'll see. Technical difficulties. Apologies for those that are watching and listening. But yeah, but then also, it's a long stretch. Going into 14 weeks in, going the whole of September, October, November, without a bye week, without having time to rest up your players. Obviously, we've got that mini bye after the Thursday night football, but it's a long stretch of the season to go without having that break. So it might sort of have the opposite effect, and we might sort of be really struggling come that point in the season.
But if we are struggling at that point in the season, I think it's so there'll be no tanking this year really, because obviously, in my opinion, we've got the QB of the future.
He's back in the room.
So we don't need to try and get ourselves up as high as possible in the draft. But this bye week, say for example, if things just haven't worked for us, we've lost a lot of games by one score again, and we're kind of out of contention of playoffs, but we're not being battered every week. We're not looking bad. That week 14 bye could be kind of the perfect week to go, okay, let's kind of see what we've got with Jackson Dart here. Let's give him the last few games to get him some experience, stuff like that. I mean, obviously if we're in contention, we crack on and try and make the playoffs. But if we are kind of just out of contention by then, it gives him a bit of time, gives him a couple of weeks to learn to learn the first team offense. Well, he would have known it, but you know what I mean? Just to give him those reps and stuff, just an interesting point.
Exactly that. That's a great point, Kev. All right, week 15, reverse game against the Commanders. Sunday, 14th December, 6 p.m. again. Just that reverse game at MetLife. No doubt they're hoping they're in contention for the postseason as much as we are. I'm sure their chances of postseason are probably more realistic than ours at the moment, but hey, it could be a really decisive game in division by that point. Who knows? Week 16. Giants against the Vikings, 21st of December, 6 p.m. again. Our last game against an NFC North opponent, and hopefully an early Christmas present and we get a win. Shane, your second highlighted game.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I chose this is we all remember the 8th of September when we were in Birmingham and we had all that optimism about the upcoming season. And then we watched that shower of shit in week 1. So first thing, we need to kind of bury that. We need to kind of bury that memory and progress from there. But the other reason why I chose this game, because for me, I know we've drafted Jackson Dart, but this is potentially insight into what could have been. We're going up against JJ McCarthy, a player we were linked with a lot. A player who realistically was going to be the first opportunity for the Giants for him to be drafted by the Giants. He was never going to go in the top 3. Arizona was never going to take him, and LA was never going to take him. So, to me, New York Giants were the first team to pass on him. Now, I wasn't a JJ McCarthy guy. Still stand by that. But it'll just be interesting to see and watch him play and be like, this is what we could have had. This is what could have been. Now, as I said, I know we've got Jackson Dart, and I wouldn't change it. I'm a massive. I was higher on Jackson Dart than I was JJ McCarthy, just to be clear. And it's not me trying to shit on the Jackson Dart pick or anything like that, because that's not what I'm doing. But it's just going to be fun and interesting, kind of looking at what we might have potentially have had if we'd have gone that route. And then also, this is a game where we're going to really find out. We've got games early in the season. We'll find out kind of what we've got with the cornerbacks here. You're going up against Jefferson, you're going up against Jordan Addison. Addison's not lived up to the, in my opinion, what I expected him to be when he come into the league a couple of years ago. But there's still 2 outstanding wide receivers. There's going to be nowhere for Ty Banks to hide. We'll see what we've got with Paulson and Debo. It's going to be 16 weeks into the season, so by then they should be firing on all cylinders. No excuses for not knowing schemes, not knowing plays. I want to see them locking up Justin Jefferson. And as I say, this potentially could be the last game that we realistically could win at the end of the season. We'll talk about a couple of the other games coming up afterwards, but this is the one where you kind of think to yourself, yeah, we should be able to the Minnesota Vikings. We've done them in the past. We all remember the playoff game, the good memories of that. We want to see that again. We want to see that New York team.
Yeah, it's definitely again another game that's there for the taking, I think, and Jefferson obviously is a huge weapon, and I think it will be a great test for our secondary, that's for sure. And it'd be nice to have an early Christmas present to get a win at home against the Vikings. Week 17, we travelled to Las Vegas, Sin City. Sin City, baby. The last time we went to Sin City, to Vegas, obviously against the Antonio Pierce led Raiders, obviously in that one, it kind of signalled the end for Daniel Jones as Giants quarterback. Or started to signal the end for Daniel Jones as Giants quarterback, because obviously that's when he tore his ACL. And again, not an easy game to go to, but Craig, you've got your eye on this one.
Yeah, apologies for dropping off as well. I've had to hotspot. My broadband's gone down, so if I'm a little choppy, I apologise. But stick with me, because I know on the surface we're looking at two teams who finished dead last in their division last season, but both have kind of bolstered their roster through the draft, through free agency, and could potentially be looked at two of the most improved rosters year on year. And I don't think that's something I say lightly either. I do think when you kind of look at it on the whole, that we are looking at two teams who really are kind of going all in to improve their standing. Now, if you look at the Seahawks, they are massively overhauled. Out with general manager Tom Telesco, out with Antonio Pierce, who was obviously the head coach, out with quarterback Gardner Minshew. And then you get John Spytek, Pete Carroll, and Geno Smith coming in. Now, Spytek and Telesco, I'm not going to kind of try and compare those two, but Carroll and Smith are definitely an upgrade on Antonio Pierce, who was a rookie head coach who did okay, and Gardner Minshew, who is a journeyman quarterback. So, after a year away from the game, and before that, a 14-year stint with the Seahawks that saw him win a ring at Super Bowl 48 and obviously go to another Super Bowl that if they would have run the damn ball, they would have won. Pete Carroll is now back in the game. And one of his and Spytek's first pieces of business was to trade for Geno Smith, who was Pete Carroll's 2023 starting quarterback at the Seahawks. So it's kind of a match there that's proven to work in the past. And Geno Smith is, I think, from a Giants perspective, there's a lot of hate that goes against Geno Smith for one particular reason that he had no control over. It was completely, what had happened with the Eli benching, but you could probably say that Geno Smith, from what he was then to what he is now, is a completely different player and much, much improved. So it will be an interesting matchup. Free agency, they were a little bit conservative. Max Crosby obviously got a massive extension because he is one of the best edge rushers in the league. So that obviously ate up a lot of money. But they did pick up defensive starters on prove-it deals as well for not a lot of money. Devin White, Landon Roberts, from the Texans and Patriots, respectively. They've both come in. Jeremy Chin from Washington, who I know was a safety that I had my eye on potentially for us. And Eric Stokes, the cornerback from Green Bay, have all come in to shore up that defense, which is obviously a point of contention. And then in the draft, they go for what PFF have called a generational player. And I know Shane and Kev have both turned around and said, Genty is quite clearly the best running back prospect to come out since Saquon Barkley and above what Bijan Robinson was. Now, he's going to improve their running back room, which was ranked dead last season. And then you look at what else they did. They picked up Jack Beck in the second round at TCU, who a lot of people are saying that's a really, really good fit there at the Raiders. And then Darian Porter from Iowa State in the third round. Kind of those three got them A grades from a lot of outlets. So a lot of people really do like what the Raiders are building. Now, favourable matchup. I was looking through that depth chart and I saw a certain player sitting at slot cornerback for them. Shane's best friend, big play Darnay Holmes. He's sitting there ready to rock and roll. Now, I don't know about you boys, but if I'm seeing Darnay Holmes at slot cornerback, Malik Neighbors is going to be playing slot, and I want him to torch that man over and over and over again. That to me is all I want to see at the tail end of the season. But I do think, we are looking at a matchup here that I just think is really intriguing, because it's one that if you turn around and said, "Oh, the Giants Raiders were playing last season," you probably wouldn't watch it. You'd probably stick Red Zone on, because it was going to be tosh, because you two offenses who couldn't do anything and two defenses who were porous. So something was bound to give at some point, and it would probably end up being a 3-6 game or something stupid like that. Now, you've got Genty versus Scoutaboo or Tyrone Tracy. You've got Geno Smith versus Russell Wilson, which is obviously a point of contention with the Seahawks link there. Like, there's so many different interlinking storylines in this game. I just really think it's an interesting one. And it's in that nice little sweet spot between Christmas and New Year, which is always a banger.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I mean, again, like, depending on how we've played the rest of the season, this could be a game that we really need to win, or it could be a dead rubber that's just sort of a good watch. But yeah, there definitely are a lot of things to, I think, look forward to in that game for sure. Not to mention, like you said, the whole Geno and Russell Wilson Seahawks link, with Pete Carroll being there as well. So that's a nice little thing. And then rounding out the season, week 18 at home, ending the way it began against a divisional rival, the Dallas Cowboys come to MetLife to hopefully round off what will be a successful season. Hopefully we'll be chasing a playoff spot, or have one sewn up by this point. But either way, it's always nice to play the Cowboys. Or say always nice to play, always interesting to play the Cowboys, and more often than not ends up being a good game. When they beat you 40-0 in week 1, it's not nice then. But yeah, we'll forget that happened.
As long as Shane doesn't talk about Graham Gano, I think we should be all right. Yeah,
I think we'll be fine. We'll be fine. But yeah, so rounding out the season at home to the Cowboys. I guess starting off against the division, finishing off against the division. It's a tough schedule, and like I said earlier, it's been ranked as the toughest of all 32 teams. Daves and Shane are under a lot of pressure to turn the tide on obviously our recent history. Russell Wilson under centre. We're hopeful for a better year. Obviously, if it doesn't work out with him, we've got potentially Jameis Winston to fall back on. If not, then rookie Jackson Dart to bring in and bring maybe bring a spark and a little bit of hope to us. But with 10 out of the 17 games in the early window, 1 in the late window, 3 primetime games, we're not going to complain too much. Sorry, 11 out of 17 games in that early slot. And 11 of the 17 games are all played in the Eastern time zone as well. So there's not too much in the way of sort of travelling out of the time zone, which can only help the team. And only 2 trips out west to Denver and Las Vegas. There's no actual trip to the West Coast itself this season. So there won't be that huge issue of travel. We're ranking, I think it's 21st in total for travel miles this year. Obviously no international games either. So, we're sort of, our travelling isn't a huge amount. I think we've got 2 trips where we've got back-to-back road games, obviously starting off the season, and then obviously one later on in the season. So we've got back-to-back road games, but none of them games were sort of staying on the road. We're always coming back home following that game. So or following each of those road games. So it's, there are signs that there could be potential for this year. Obviously, after week 12, the league's flex scheduling comes into play. So depending on where we are in terms of success and playoff implications and things like that, could mean some games are flexed into late games or primetime games even. So obviously keep your eye out on that. But as it stands, 16 of the 18 games have kickoff times confirmed, with obviously week 17 and week 18 still to be decided. There you go. That's our schedule for this year. I just can't wait for the season to get started already. And we're on the 15th of May. We've not got that long to wait, really. We've only got 4 months to wait, less than 4 months now to wait till the season does kick off. But yeah, thoroughly looking forward to it. But unfortunately, that is all we've got time for tonight. We will be back next Thursday as we begin our State of Play series, where we'll be looking at quarterbacks and running backs. So make sure you tune in then. Guys, anything to add before we go?
That's, we know who we're playing now and when we're playing them. we've got a few wheels in motions, and that's all we'll kind of say as to what might be happening in the season. Nothing's confirmed yet, but kind of watch this space, and bring August round now, kind of thing. The next few months are going to be a little bit boring in terms of like stuff to talk about. So we'll do our positional breakdowns, and obviously, you can have your OTAs and that, but we're kind of starting to see the tunnel now. We've not got the light at the end of the tunnel yet, but we can see the tunnel because we know who we're playing and when we're playing.
Yeah, definitely. It's just good to stick stuff in the diary and actually know when the games are and what times are as well. But again, like going through this sort of is good because you kind of see all the teams, and like I said before, every team last year is out the window now. Like it's cliche, but it is. Everyone's 0-0. But also good teams have lost players. Bad teams have got better players. Bad teams have got bad players. Good teams have got good players. We really don't know until we get out on the field. But going through some of the teams, I think we match up. If we can click, I think we match up favorably with a lot of teams.
Yeah, that you've kind of nailed it there, Kev, with the fact that one of the good things about the NFL is that so much changes that teams do go from worst to best. It has happened. It's happened in the past. You look at someone like the Broncos, who when they had Russell Wilson, it obviously didn't click between him and Peyton. They were faltering. Bo Nix comes in. You're not sure what to expect. Bang, playoff team. The Texans for so long. Bad team. CJ Stroud comes in, bang, playoff team. It could happen. We're not starting Jackson Dart from the beginning. We probably are going to start Russell Wilson. So we might not have that same oomph that maybe some of the other teams did when starting. But, maybe they're looking at what they did with Josh Allen, what happened with Patrick Mahomes, what they did with Jordan Love over at the Packers. Like there are pluses and minuses to sitting your quarterback, and there are pluses and minuses to throwing your quarterback in. Are you going to get a Bo Nix? Or are you going to get a Bryce Young? That's the worry, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. And some there are going to be people that would rather not sit Jackson Dart, but I think with what their track record in Buffalo with Josh Allen, I think that kind of speaks for itself, and I'm not surprised that we'll be sort of sitting him through the season. But Russell Wilson himself is a good quarterback, and he's got a Super Bowl ring for a reason. So there's plenty to look forward to for 2025, and like you said, Kev, it's an even playing field to start with. Everyone's 0-0 record. Let's go out and prove that this roster is better than it was last year, and let's hope for some success for sure. As usual, check out our socials for all the latest news. Follow the links in the description to all of those to find where we are, and give this episode a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and get notified when we're going live. Again, thanks to all those who have been watching and getting involved in the comments this evening. As usual, we appreciate that. And my thanks as ever go to Kev, to Shane, and to Craig for joining me. We are signing off. Until next time, let's go Giants.